Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am super excited about today's video because I have been wanting to do a must-watch horror movie list for such a long time now. I absolutely love that we have an entire month to dedicate and celebrate all things horror. However, these movies are perfect to watch all throughout the year, not just on Halloween, not just in October. So today I'll be sharing with you my top 13 horror movies. If you guys are new to my channel, I do upload once or twice weekly. I do home videos dealing with home decoration, home organization, also travel videos, and lots of lifestyle content in relation to being a mom and being a wife. So definitely check out my channel if you're interested in any of that content, and feel free to stay a while. I do want to say that I do not have any of your horror classics in here. We all know that some of the major classics are some of the absolute best ones, so there is no need for me to even include those. Also, this list will be purely on zombie type of movies, on supernatural, aliens, nothing like psychological thrillers or your regular thrillers or your slasher horror films. I feel like those can have a category all on their own. So I definitely wanted to focus more on the science fiction aspect. So let's go ahead and start with number 13. So 13 Ghosts is about a dad, a daughter, and a son who inherit this grand home from an estranged family member. So the family goes to claim the house, and as soon as they get there, they immediately notice how grandiose this home is. It looks very technologically advanced. It is unlike anything they've ever seen. Almost all the walls are made out of glass, and there were some kind of script writing on all of the walls. Had I walked in there, I definitely would have thought something peculiar was going on. However, they knew that the uncle that gifted him the house was very eccentric and he had lots of weird hobbies, so they didn't really think much of it, overlooked all the red flags. So they start checking out the house. They begin to hear these loud gears turning on in the home, and those gears were actually allowing the walls to shift. Turns out that very eccentric and peculiar family member of theirs was actually collecting ghosts in his house, 13 different kinds of ghosts. So whenever those glass walls would shift, they were free to go through it. The fact that these ghosts were captured definitely made them much more vengeful, so you can only imagine the torment that they put this family through. It's worth a watch at least once. It's a little bit of an older movie, but there's not any storylines like this one, so I think you'll find it very, very interesting. So this next one is about a father-son coroner duo who are enlisted to do an autopsy on a beautiful Jane Doe. She was retrieved from this very horrific crime scene. She has no fingerprints, no ID on her. So with the crime scene being pretty horrific, the cops want to go ahead and figure out who this woman is. But before any of this happens, you can see the son giving his love interest in the story a tour around the morgue. So this young lady spots a bell tied to one of the dead bodies, and she asks why that's there. That is like so we can tell that they're dead. So that's a very important note in this story. So the girl leaves the scene, and we are back with the father and son doing the autopsy, and that's when they start to see so many disturbing things about this Jane Doe. It seems like she was tortured in every single way possible. There was a cloth shoved into her throat. There are just some crazy weird markings on it, and they could not really figure it out. So they continue to do the autopsy, and all of a sudden the lights begin to flicker. A lot of this part of the scene is just in darkness, and remember that bell I mentioned earlier? All of a sudden you are hearing that bell. Very chilling. So this next movie is about a story from Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are real-life paranormal investigators. They went around and investigated all types of supernatural phenomenons, and this happened to be one of the major ones that they investigated. So the main focal point of the story is a mom and I want to say 5 of her children are being absolutely tormented by spiritual beings in their home. The girl was being pulled out of her bed. One of the other kids got thrown across the room. They're getting the nightmares, all the crazy sightings in their house, but they have no choice but to live there. The paranormal investigators tell them that these spirits and these beings have latched onto your family. You moving isn't really going to change anything. They're there until we get rid of them. This entire movie being based on a true story is already scary enough. However, the entire cast was reporting that so many strange and disturbing things were happening during the filming. And the scariest part of it all, Joey King, an actress that played one of the daughters who was being victimized by one of the demons, actually acquired a very rare blood disorder. Had to get her blood drawn before every filming just to ensure that she didn't need a transfusion. And the craziest part is that as soon as The Conjuring stopped filming, she was cured and healthy again. I'm getting shivers right now as I speak about it. This next movie is about a group of friends. They want to have the absolute adventure of a lifetime in the Appalachian Mountains. They want to go hiking and all of that fun stuff. These group of friends are warned to stay on the more frequented and safer path. However, they somehow end up not doing that. So as they're driving to go to this unrecommended area, their tires are absolutely obliterated. They get into this accident and they go to check the cars out and notice that a barbed wire was actually put on the road so that they would run into it. So they grab their hiking gear and begin hiking it to the next closest area to get help. And that's when things absolutely go haywire. You start seeing snippets of other people that are in the mountains, very deformed. You can tell that they lack social skills and they haven't had any kind of outside intervention. So these very deformed and unsocialized humans just do all kinds of tormenting things towards these group of friends. The entire movie, they are trying to escape and fight for their lives. This is the movie that began my fear of going into the woods and the mountains and remote roads. So this next movie is based out in LA. So we have the main lady of the story. She's a reporter. She's doing a lighthearted story on the firefighters. She follows them to this apartment complex where they're trying to rescue an elderly lady. So these firemen break into the apartment and then they find this lady. She's acting very strange. She's not looking into the camera, but as soon as she turns around, she comes charging full on speed at them with her teeth. She is trying to tear these people apart. They find out that somebody has been doing some kind of weird experiments. This experiments went completely wrong and ended up spreading to the other tenants in the building. Apparently it was rabies that was spreading, the worst you could possibly think of to make these people attack in this fashion. And what makes this movie kind of stick out and make it a little bit more scary is that it's done on this first person view via a night cam, and it's extremely dark in the entire apartment complex, so it's definitely pretty crazy and has a lot of jump scares. This next story is about a group of friends who are going to be exploring the underground caves at the Appalachian Mountains. This just tells me right now that I am never ever going to the Appalachian Mountains. So they begin descending and climbing into this underground cave when all of a sudden the path that they took to get in ends up caving in. That was their way out and now they don't know what to do. They don't see any sign of daylight to head out towards. Their flashlights are gonna run out, and then to top it all off, one of the girls said that she swears she saw something. They're all kind of hearing things, so now they're freaking out. So we finally cut to the scene where it shows what was making those noises. They are these humanoid type beings. Somehow they have adapted to the cave lifestyle. They can climb up the walls and heighten their senses of hearing and smelling. So they are hunting these girls down to try to eat them. That is their only food source down there. So there's this family traveling to California via a truck and a camper. So they're all traveling together through the Nevada desert, and there's literally nothing and nothing for miles. And finally the family stops at a gas station. They end up making small talk with a gas attendant who actually suggests them to go a different way because it'll save them a few hours on their trip. So of course they oblige, so they go that way, and all of a sudden their tires pop. So you can obviously get from that scene that this was done on purpose. So now this poor family is stuck in the desert, and this is when you begin seeing sightings of mutated human beings. As the movie goes along, we learn that these mutated humans are actually a family that were subjected to radioactive explosion back in the 70s, and over the years they have just been able to stay alive because they have been getting travelers and consuming them. Definitely a crazy story plot. There are multiple sequels to this movie. The movie that made me very skeptical about any type of cure. So the story begins with a cure for cancer. This cure was so successful that they decided to begin rolling it out to all cancer patients which turned out to be the worst mistake. This cure turned people into zombies and it just spread like wildfire. So this movie stars Will Smith, and he is one of the main survivors left after this whole catastrophe. He's an absolutely brilliant scientist, but one of the main factors that allowed him to survive this whole time is that his blood is immune to this disease. So every single day he's taking his blood and trying to create some type of cure for this plague and cure the ones who have already turned into zombies. And then one day he actually needs one of these zombies and he figures out a way to catch one of them. So he sets up a trap, catches one of them, and brings them back to his lab. Come to find out, those zombies are actually very, very sophisticated. So they mimicked the trap that he had set up for one of them, and they ended up setting it up for him. These zombies are very vengeful. In the midst of these zombies' vengeance, he ends up actually figuring out the cure, and now it's like a running race between the zombies trying to get him and then him trying to get this cure out into the world. This next one is a found footage type of film, and probably one of the best ones. It is made so well. The actress that portrayed the villain did an absolutely amazing job. The movie's about a young lady who wants to document Alzheimer's disease and its effects on people. So she chooses Deborah Logan to be the subject of her film. Moving on to Deborah's personality, she's looking very positively into her disease. She doesn't want her disease to define her. She really wants to live her life to the fullest as much as possible. And as the movie goes along, there's definitely a change in her. She's doing all kinds of strange things in the night and they think she's sleepwalking. The daughter, she's very concerned, so she reports it to her mom's doctor. Filming crew is also very concerned, so they end up setting up their cameras at night so they can catch Deborah and see what she's doing. And you can just see Deborah doing all kinds of craziness. She is going out to her garden in the middle of the night. Her hands are just full of dirt, like she's clawing at the dirt. And then in one footage you see her on the ground just standing in front of the counter. Next thing you know, she's on top of the counter standing on it, very still. Very, very spooky. Next movie stars Milla Jovovich. So as soon as this movie begins playing, Milla, the actress, states that this is a reenactment of real documented stories, things that have happened to actual people that lived in Nome, but actually the entire thing is fiction. But the film was created in such a way to make you think that she's actually doing a documentary on real people. Everything seems super realistic, so that makes it even more engaging. She is a psychologist in Nome, Alaska. Nome, Alaska is known for unexplained disappearances of people, and she is the one psychologist in town that is seeing all of the people dealing with the strange things happening. And as she sits through the sessions with them, she's seeing a very similar pattern of occurrences. So she starts trying to figure out maybe there is a connection, and she concludes that there is some kind of alien abduction going on. All of the evidence was supporting this conclusion. Things that were happening could not be explained with anything, but she's trying to tell other people about it. Nobody's listening to her, and then some more crazy things hit the fan. This next movie is set in a diner in the middle of the Mojave Desert. Pretty typical diner, nothing seems crazy up until this sweet old grandma tells Charlie, pregnant waitress who is about to pop, that her baby is going to burn. So the whole diner hears this, and one of the patrons comes over to tell the grandma, hey, you can't do that. All of a sudden, this possessed grandma opens up her mouth super widely and takes a chunk out of this patron, and all hell breaks loose. So the whole story behind this is that God is very upset with humans. He is tired of the way we're acting. He's ready to get rid of us all. However, Charlie's baby is the one savior for humanity. So God has enlisted Michael, the archangel, to go and kill Charlie's baby. However, Michael disobeyed because he believes in humanity and he wants to save humanity. So he makes it his mission to save Charlie and her baby. During this entire time, God is just sending a bunch of possessed beings to come decimate Charlie and her baby, and the whole movie basically goes on like that. I just love movies like this dealing with God and his disappointment with humans. I just think it's a very interesting plot. This movie is about a mom, a dad, a son, and a little baby that move into a new home. While the son was exploring the home, he ended up falling off of a stool, and a few days later he goes into a coma. They start experiencing a bunch of disturbing things going on in their house. They are seeing bloody handprints, ghosts in their home. They're hearing things over the baby monitor. So with all the supernatural things going on, they end up calling either a medium or a psychic to the house. I can't remember exactly what she was. Goes in, does her thing, and tells the parents like, hey, your child is actually blessed with an astral ability to be able to come out of his body and go to the astral plane, meaning that this little boy can travel to the other world, the world of the dead and just bad spirits. Not in his physical body, but out of his mind. The last time he went in, he kind of went a little too far. He cannot find his body to get out of that coma. Meanwhile, while this little boy is lost in the astral phase, other evil things are trying to come in and use his body and possess it to come back into the real world. So you can kind of see how that's crazy, and there is a huge plot twist. Last but not least, this particular movie gave me nightmares for such a long time. I made this movie my number one just because I feel like this movie does not get enough credit. Not as many people talk about it, so I want to share. It's about this young loan officer. She unwantingly refuses this next customer. She wants an extension on a loan for her home, and they had already given her multiple extensions in the past. She's on her knees begging Christine, the loan officer, to please show her some mercy, and of course Christine does not. Christine later on gets in her car and the lady absolutely ambushes her and puts a curse on Christine. So the entire story, Christine is having these visions. She's going through physical torment. She can't even get through her day. She tries to enlist the help of people who deal with these kind of supernatural things, and just when she thinks she gets rid of curse, crazy things happen. So you're gonna have to watch to find out. But anyways, that is the last of my list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed putting this together. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite horror movies are, or if there's one that strikes your fancy in this list that I just gave you guys. And if you want me to do horror, like psychological thrillers or horror slasher lists in the future, let me know. Again, check out my channel for other types of content, and I will see you guys in my next video.